Final from MSG where the Knicks beat the Cavaliers 99-79. Hope you had the under as they combine for, 178 points? Look, I'm a Cavaliers fan, and that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Fewest points in a game all season, not just for the Cavaliers. No, for any team. The fewest points all season was 80 points. The Cavs didn't even get to 80. The fewest points in a game all season. It's in Game 3 of a playoff series. They had 32 points in the first half, tied for their worst scoring first half in Cleveland postseason history. So you're like, oh, it's tied with what? In 1996, they played the Knicks in the first round, Game 3. 32 points in that one. And that was best of 5, so the Knicks won that series on that night. Now the Knicks are 2 wins away from their first playoff series win in a decade. Get some instant analysis. Welcome in CBS Sports NBA writer Colin Ward-Henninger. Colin, this was an embarrassment for Cleveland. And here's the number that stands out to me. 32 in the first half was what they scored, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they turned the ball over 21 times, and the Knicks scored 28 points off of those turnovers. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that there were enough bricks collected to build a new HQ studio somewhere in New York City. So we got that going for us. But yeah, just a horrific effort from the Cleveland Cavaliers. What you mentioned, turning the ball over, leading to transition points for the Knicks. Knicks aren't even that great of a transition team, but when you're getting that many missed shots and that many turnovers, you're going to score a lot of points on fast breaks. So what it really showed me is that Cleveland, Darius Garland had an awful shooting game. They don't have the depth to sustain that. You look on the other side, Julius Randle had a terrible shooting game, but they had R.J. Barrett step up. They had Emmanuel Quickly. They had Josh Hart. Cleveland just lacks those pieces that if those main guys, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, aren't having outstanding games, they really struggle to score. And that's been the case all season. It just manifested itself in a very ugly and untimely way in Game 3.
What was different for the Knicks here in Game 3? Because they were held to 90 points in Game 2. What was different for the Knicks in this one?
Yeah, I mentioned the bench scoring. Emmanuel Quickly was a plus 27 in the box score, which means that he was getting it done on both ends of the floor. And they were moving the ball. The Knicks can tend to get very stagnant with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle isolation. When the bench units are in, they tend to move the ball more, but they hadn't really been doing that in the first 2 games of the series. Obviously, we talk about the cliche, role players play better at home. It's a cliche for a reason, and we saw why in Game 3. They were really knocking down their shots. They were moving the ball, playing the type of offense that they played during the regular season, which led them to be one of the best offenses in the NBA. So it's going to be a grinded out, low scoring series, but it's really going to come down to, in my opinion, to which role players step up, because each team has 2 prolific scorers. And as we saw, they're not always going to have the best games. So you're going to need role players to step up.
What did you learn about the Knicks on this night? Because you mentioned Julius Randle and his output in this game. He had 11 points on 3 of 15. But they got a much better effort from R.J. Barrett. Jalen Brunson leading the way, his first playoff win at Madison Square Garden as a member of the Knicks, a team he grew up watching, wanting to play for. What did you learn about this Knicks squad after coming off the Game 2 loss in Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, this is a resilient team. They have been all year. The Tom Thibodeau teams are tough. And what I learned was that when their back is against the wall, they need a win. Jalen Brunson is the guy. Like, he is that guy that's going to lead you. He showed it in the playoffs with the Dallas Mavericks when Luka Doncic was out, and he led their team to a win over Donovan Mitchell's Jazz. He's going to produce. He's going to be the offensive engine. And all they need, as you mentioned, R.J. Barrett stepping up. This is kind of like a third man series, right? Like that old Orson Welles movie. Who's going to be the third guy on each team? Tonight it was R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, if you want to say that off the bench. But the Cavs, they need Karis LeVert. They need Isaac Okoro. They need Cedi Osman. They need somebody to step up and be that third guy. And I think that's really going to be what dictates this series.
The New York Knicks 2 wins away from their first series win in a decade. Look at the team comparison. 79 points for Cleveland on 39% shooting. The fewest points in a game all season. 21 turnovers for Cleveland, and the Knicks taking advantage, scoring 28 points off of those 21 turnovers. Game 4 back at MSG on Sunday. All right, back here with Colin Ward-Henninger, and you're JB Bickerstaff, and you're going into that Cavaliers locker room right now. I'm not really sure what you say to your team, but what would you say? Because I know what I would say, and it would be like, what the hell did we just do right there?
Yeah, I mean, that's one approach. I'm not going to knock your coaching style, but this may be one of those games where you just kind of throw out the game film, you throw out the box score, and you say, look, we just didn't make shots. One thing you did mention is they turn the ball over a lot. I think if they're going to highlight anything, look, you're going to miss shots. They missed way too many. They scored 79 points. It's atrocious. But if you're a coach, what you can really control is those turnovers and say, look, we can miss shots. We can get back on defense, but if we turn the ball over and give them transition opportunities, I mean, the Knicks weren't exactly lighting things up in the first half either, and they were able to build a lead because of those turnovers. So I think, I don't think JB Bickerstaff is going to yell at his guys. I think the playoffs are the time to kind of build your guys up rather than tear them down. So I think he's going to say, hey, look, shooters, turn the page. We know what we're capable of offensively, but let's just cut down on those turnovers.
Yeah, the Knicks really disrupted Cleveland in this game 3. I mean, they just essentially flipped the script, right? Cavaliers' #1 defense shut down the Knicks in game 2, and it's really the Cavaliers shutting themselves down with all the turnovers. The other concern here that I want to bring up, Colin, is the fact that Julius Randle hasn't been like awesome in this series, right? He was coming into this game 15 of 40 from the floor coming in, and 3 of 15 in this one. You're up 2-1 as the Knicks, but how are you feeling right now if you're Julius Randle and you got to go to him? He's your all-star. He's one of your best players, but he's not playing at his peak. And I know he's coming off the ankle injury, but there's got to be some concerns right now for the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at Julius Randle's playoff history, it's not good. And the reason is he shoots a lot of mid-range jumpers. And in playoff scenarios where they know your sweet spots, where you want to get the ball, where you want to operate, they're going to do their best to push you off of those spots. So we saw a couple of years ago, the Atlanta Hawks, they were pushing him towards the baseline because he cannot shoot very well from the baselines. He likes to operate in the middle of the floor. The Cavs are doing very similar things. When he has his back to the basket, they're going to send a second defender to try to disrupt him. He had 11 turnovers combined in the first 2 games because he's just having trouble finding those passing lanes and outlets. So if you're the Knicks, obviously there's 2 ways to look at it, right? One is Julius Randle cannot score against this team. It's going to be a problem. Or, hey, look, Julius Randle's going to have one of those 5 for 12 3-point nights, and eventually he's going to break out of it and he's going to win us a game. So the fact that they have Jalen Brunson, that is just so huge for them because they have that other guy who's able to get to the bucket, get into the paint, get baskets, kick out to shooters. And Julius Randle was kind of miscast as a #1, and I think Jalen Brunson has really assumed that role for the Knicks, and that's going to help Brunson not have as much pressure on him to perform.
Two schools of thoughts here. You're a Knicks fan, you're thinking, this series is over. You're a Cavaliers fan like myself, far from over. This is a rock fight. This is a classic rock fight. This thing, we all coming into this series, we thought, hey, this could be a 7-game series, and perhaps it might be a 7-game series, but game 3, wow, that was an embarrassment for Cleveland as the Knicks win by 20, 99-79. Game 4 on Sunday. If the Knicks go up 3-1, then it's over. But I expect Cleveland to come out on fire on Sunday and maybe even up this series before they head back to Cleveland for Game 5. Colin Ward-Henninger with the latest here on CBS Sports HQ, breaking down what turned out to be an embarrassment for the Cavaliers, scoring 79 points. The Knicks don't lose to the Cavaliers at home. They're 4-0 against the Cavaliers this season. And when they had their other bad game, that was their previous low this season. They scored 81 points at MSG. They lost 92-81, the Cavaliers did. And then they outdid themselves on this night, scoring 79 points, losing by 20 to go down 2-1.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.